Okay, there we go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you guys for being here tonight. So my name is Gabby Constantino. I will serve as the moderator for tonight's candidate forum. This event is being hosted by ʻŌpio, a collaboration of Native Hawaiian individuals and organizations dedicated to Native Hawaiian youth civic engagement. The purpose of tonight's event is to provide a platform for our ʻŌpio and the broader community to learn more about the candidates running for Maui Mayor. This session is also being live streamed on Facebook and other social media. Joining me tonight are a few fellow Kono members, which are Addis Belay from Kamehameha Kapalama and Kyla Marie Turner from UH Hilo. So the candidates we have on tonight are Cullen Bell, Kim Brown, Richard Bison, Councilmember Kelly King, Councilmember Mike Molina, Jonah Lyon, and Alana Kay. And of course, as a side note, we did invite all candidates to this forum. So we just have 3 easy rules for tonight, which is you will have a 1-minute time limit for each answer. Like Jacob already mentioned, he'll be in the background, and if you've reached your minute, then he will unmute and let you know so that you can wrap up your final thoughts. Of course, please be respectful and do not attack other candidates. And so to begin, we will have opening statements. In this statement, please include what your priorities would be if elected as Maui Mayor. I will say which candidate is next. And to begin, for this first question, we will just go by who logged on first. So can we first hear from candidate Kim Brown?
Hi, can you hear me? Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for hosting tonight. And my name is Kim Brown. I'm running for mayor. I own a company called Akamai Coffee Company for the past 15 years. And I decided to get into this about a year ago and just wrestled with the idea of it, but decided that, you know, it is my civic duty and the experience that I have being a CEO of my own companies for the past 15 years, that I would step into being the CEO of the county and bring those talents and skills to that level to address so many things, including food, shelter, and water being the biggest thing, and also taking the power back to the people. I've seen the past 2 years that the rights of the people have not been upheld, and that's the responsibility of the government to secure the rights of the people. And when the people are free, we have a very healthy community and we can be productive, but that is not what we're seeing here. And I feel like this is our last ditch effort to regain the power from the people, with the people. And I'm here to run for the people. I'm of the people, and it's time. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Brown. Next, can we hear from candidate Richard Bison?
Aloha mai kako. I'm Richard Bison, running for Maui County Mayor. I also am here from Maui. I come from Kahului. I attended St. Anthony School, Santa Clara University, where I got my degree in political science. I also attended University of Hawaii Law School, where I received my law degree. For the last 35 years, I've protected this county as the prosecuting attorney, as well as a circuit court judge, including being our chief judge. My reason for running are 3 reasons. Their names are Kilinahi, Naluwahi, and Lalakea, my 3 grandsons. I'm concerned about their future. I'm concerned about their ability to afford and stay here on Maui. And that's the reason I'm running. I also am concerned about housing for our folks, jobs. I'm hoping for improvement in those areas, and obviously our environment as well, taking care of our precious resources. I'm looking forward to the discussion tonight to explore deeper into each of our platforms Again, I thank you folks for hosting us this evening. Again, what I bring to the table is 35 years of leadership. I believe I'm the only candidate who has ever run county and state departments. I'm very aware of how that works. And again, looking forward to putting my leadership skills to use at the county. Mahalo.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Can you tell me again the pronunciation of your last name?
Oh, it's Bisson.
Listen, okay, thank you. Next, can we hear from Councilmember Mike Molina?
Hello and good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Molina. I'm was born and raised here in Maui, up in Makawao, and I'm currently a sitting member of the Maui County Council, where I'm completing my 14th year. And I believe in leadership that facilitates and not dictates. And I'm a strong, especially strong believer in open and accountable and responsive government. And I'm running because I would like to share my experiences in helping bring our community together to address many of our issues. And some of the major platforms that I have, which is probably the same as many other candidates, that is, of course, addressing the housing issue, not only for our working families, but for our unsheltered. And also, I'm hoping to do whatever I can as mayor to provide more economic opportunities and diversifying our economy to provide jobs for our future generations. And I am a strong believer, again, in maintaining good, open, positive relationships, whether we agree or disagree. And certainly I'm very open to reaching out to the community for solutions, because the reality is any candidate that says he or she has all the answers is really not true, because the answers are out there. So it's important to bring everybody to the table to share the manao and see if we all together can come up with solutions to address all of our concerns. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next, can we hear from Councilmember Kelly King?
All right, aloha. Thank you for having us all here today. It's great to be here and be talking to the youth of Maui. I'm a candidate for mayor of the County of Maui, and I'm in my third term right now as County Council member from South Maui District. I've been a leader in sustainability and an engaged resident for probably about 35 years since becoming a mother in 1985. I've lived on Maui for over 40 years with my husband, Bob, and we have 2 children, both born and raised on Maui, both graduates of Maui High School and UH Manoa, and we have 2 grandchildren. We've also run 2 successful businesses, King Diesel, which is still thriving under new ownership, and Pacific Biodiesel, which makes renewable fuel out of your used cooking oil. And I've been a longtime resident for resilient, thriving communities. My priorities include diversified economy, local renewable energy, regenerative agriculture, food security, affordable housing, social equity, emergency preparedness, environmental protection, and managed shoreline retreat. And all that goes under my slogan of resiliency. I've been chairing the Council's Climate Action, Resilience, and Environment Committee since 2020. And I'm vice president of the Hawaii State Association of Counties, which includes 1 member from each county council. So we have a lot of sharing of ideas, and we've been able to pass bills back and forth through various counties. I was recruited to join the board of ICLEI USA, which
you can wrap up, council member.
Which is a global organization for sustainability around the world. And I'm looking forward to bringing some of those experiences and my past experiences on the county council, passing bills that are getting us ready for climate change and bills that are helping with our resiliency. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, can we hear from candidate Alana Kay?
Oh, aloha. Oh, it says, the host says, oh, okay. All right. Hi, I'm Alana Kay. I'm running for mayor for the 2nd time. I ran in 2014, and I also ran in 2012 for council, South Maui. And I am an author publisher at this point in time in my life. I've written 8 books that people all over the world buy. I also do an internet radio show where I help people with their life paths. So I'm really big on insight and solving problems and inspiration and motivating people. And I'm successful in doing that. I also, in my career, I've had a painting and maintenance company in Milwaukee, but here I've been on Maui for 24 years and I had a cleaning company for a long time. And I've also gone to Maui College and taken sustainability classes. So I have a passion for, Maui. I love Maui to death. I mean, I care so much about the people here and the ecosystem in particular because, well, I think the housing crisis and the ecosystem are in crisis, and often I protect the innocent, and that's, a passion of mine. So I'm concerned about it, and that's why I wanted to run, because I wanted to do something to solve our over tourism problem, the problems with our ecosystem, with our water, especially the ʻŌpio aquifer has been really neglected, and the floods in South Maui, it's all because we're not
Hello,
managing.
Mike. You can wrap up. Sorry, time.
We're not managing our island hydrology, and we're really on a bad trajectory, and I'd like that to get taken care of, and I'd like us to diversify our economy. So that's why I'm running. Oh, and also medical freedom.
Thank you. Next, can we hear from candidate Cullen Bell?
Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for having me on tonight. The reason I'm running, I stepped up and threw my name in the hat is for my 3 kids and my wife. Mainly for my kids. I feel like the children and the youth of our home have been pushed to the back burner for far too long. Whether it be in schooling, and in the past 3 years, if you look at it, our kids are still the only kids in the nation who are masked. And, that's a big issue with me. I definitely think that it should always been a parental choice. We've taken the power away from the parents and given it to the government. Another big issue for me is food. We import majority of our food, close to 96%. Why? We live in one of the best places to grow anything in the world. Water rights is another big one that I actually just started really diving into and learning about. But yeah, like I said, we need to be able to feed our community without relying on shipments. Housing, affordable homes is a big one for me. My wife and I have been struggling trying to purchase a home. Every time we find something that's in our price range, we want to put an offer in. It gets bought sight unseen, cash offer from an outside, foreign investor or, real estate investment company. And it's real tough. I have friends, dear friends that have moved away over the past few years. And I'm tired of seeing our people, our local people moving out and foreigners moving in. I think it's time we put Maui first for sure.
Sorry, if you can wrap
And,
up, time.
be selfish for a little bit. Make sure our community is okay before we worry about anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, can we hear from candidate Jonah Lyon?
Aloha, Ohana. I'm Jonah Martin Lyon, and yeah, thank you so much for having me and hosting this panel tonight. I am putting myself into this race and have been participating in this way. So I feel that now is a time for radical change and shift in leadership, not only here on Maui, but in many places. And I'm holding a vision that I feel that Maui is actually an integral piece to bringing forth literally that to the planet, that we are in a unique opportunity to model a regenerative society, a sustainable way of living, permaculture, and coming back into a space where is the earth share, people share, and fair share. Earth care, people care, fair share. So bringing those tenets in and really focusing in on the restoration of culture, revitalization of people, regeneration of land, and the recreation of prosperity. And so those are kind of tenets in that came here really with a focus on foundation on education. I've been in youth and culture and focused in that through coaching, through teaching, as well as the history is in firefighting as a background, and that came through as actually bringing forth an academy and an education space for environmental protection and in service to humanity. So mahalo for this and this opportunity. Aloha.
Thank you. So we have a few set questions from the Koto members first, and then we will direct towards the audience questions. So next, Kyla will give you guys the next question.
Perfect. Mahalo, Gabby. Aloha, my name is Kyla Marie K. Turner, and I am a student at UH Hilo. My question to the candidates of the Maui Mayor race is, how would you support local farmers, especially as many struggle with water rights and Maui continuously going into water shortages?
Could we start with candidate Bisson?
Sure, thank you. I know we have the new Department of Agriculture that is coming online, I'm sure soon. I think for us, it's time for us to support ag tech, to help our farmers into the 21st century with farming methods, helping them with improving their crops, as well as getting them to market and being able to compete with the prices that are, there's no reason why our prices here should be more than what it costs to bring something in from the mainland. So what I'd like to do is, again, help farmers, not just with the obvious of getting them water, but also help them through funding to have opportunities to get their produce to market, storage, again, improving their crop yields. That would be our goal.
Thank you. Next, can we hear from Council Member Mike Molina?
Okay, aloha, thank you for the question. And as Mr. Bisson alluded to, yes, we have a new Department of Agriculture that can serve as a voice for our small farmers and ranchers, to the point where, I would like to see Maui become food exporters rather than importing. We can provide subsidies through government grants. And also, I'd like to see a system set up where farmers can rent heavy equipment, because for many farmers, they cannot afford purchasing these large pieces of equipment. So a co-op system, if you will, that can assist our farmers with the use of heavy equipment so they don't have to incur big expenses. And also considering the reducing water rates, I think that will be helpful too, as well as help subsidizing any land costs for farming. So I certainly see we need to move in that direction, because if we ever have a disruption in shipping, our farmers and ranchers are going to be our heroes, because they're the ones that will be tasked with having to feed the rest of us. So we need to certainly prioritize agriculture as a very, very high priority in the times that we live in right now. So again, working with not only the local county Department of Agriculture, but the state Department of Agriculture as well, combining with those efforts and doing outreach with organizations like the Maui Farm Bureau and also the Hawaii Farmers Union, all of us collectively putting our heads together, coming up with a food security plan as well, I think will certainly be an asset when we look at developing agriculture for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, can we hear from Council Member Kelly King?
Thank you very much for the question. And I will start out by saying my husband and I are farmers. We farm in central Maui, the sunflower fields, and we're experimenting with other types of crops that we can, process into food and fuel. I am a supporter of the Water Authority, which I believe will go on the ballot this year, creating a county water authority where we have control over our own water delivery resources. And I think that's going to make a huge difference to farmers as well as the local Department of Agriculture. That needs to get going off the ground as soon as possible. We need to start focusing on food processing and helping continuing grants for small farmers, but also helping getting assistance from state and federal USDA, the US Department of Agriculture, trying to figure out how we're going to help farmers and hunters especially get their catch into the USDA market so that they can start selling to restaurants and stores here. Also, I think that one of the things that we really need here to help farmers with is grants. And that's one of the reasons why we were such big supporters of Department of Agriculture on the council, because farmers are hard workers. They don't have time to sit around and write grants and fill out those applications. So they really need assistance with that. They need control of the water. They need fair water rates right now the rates are all over the place, depending on if you're a big farm, if you're a small farmer, who you get your water from. So so much room for improvement. And I'm also on the Maui Nui Food Alliance. So we're on the Food Alliance, we're working on healthy food systems for Maui.
Thank you. Next, can we hear from candidate Alana Kay?
This is a great question because I think food security is high on everybody's mind, no matter what subculture you're in on the island. And definitely the small farmers need a lot more support. And I've been following this for a long time. I know that Council Member Guzman years ago went to Oregon to study hub farming, and a lot of the ideas from hub farming would really help our farmers here, but some of our zoning prevents that. It's where they share certain resources. I know what somebody mentioned, the heavy equipment. Yes, definitely lowering the water rates. And because I'm concerned about the water and implementing water resource management and respecting our hydrology, I feel we're impeding our island hydrology. That would definitely help with anything that we would consider a water shortage, because I think we have a lot of water, but we're just not managing it properly and wisely. And so I think we could have a look-see at the grants and maybe some low interest loans to help farmers get started. But I also understand there's been an issue with when you're first starting out, it takes a few years before you have crops to sell, and you're starting to get money. And in the meantime, it's pretty challenging. And a lot of people like to do ecotourism, which is really picking up these days. And if we could make it a lot easier, if the county could make it easier for people to engage in ecotourism, that would be helpful. There are some snags with that. I don't have time for that right now. But yeah, my vision is also to see Maui as an exporter of our produce, not an importer.
Thank you. Next, can we hear from candidate Cullen Bell?
So my idea about the food going forward. So sometimes to me, looking to the future means looking to the past. I was just out in Honolulu over the weekend, helping to clear out, and restore Lo'i out there, talking to good friends and figuring out game plans. And I know a whole bunch of water has been mismanaged for a long time, and now we have Maui Pono is the largest land owner. It was the largest land buy and I definitely think we need to look at all these water rights and hotels. I mean, the hotels never go on restrictions. On June 30th, I know upcountry areas, I believe a couple other areas will be going on water restrictions. Are the hotels going to stop watering their lawns? Are they going to stop their water features throughout their hotels? I don't think so. So why is it that the people of Maui are always suffering? We need to put us first. Hemp farming, that's a real good one. It actually will renew the soil. The topsoil is basically gone from years of herbicides and pesticides being pumped into it. We need to put life back into the soil so we can actually grow things, that it'll actually grow in the soil in the Central Valley. You look at it, I drove through it on the way out to Haiku today through the Central Valley, and it's just one big dust cloud every day. We definitely need to do something about that. And in regards to the hemp farming, I know it's permitting is what's wrong. I have a few people that I know who actually applied for permits and were rejected when Shane Victorino actually was granted permitting to have hemp farm in Molokai. So we need to just rip the curtains down so everybody can see what's going on. And everybody should have a voice, for sure. And we definitely need to make sure we can feed ourselves without relying on shipments. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, can we hear from candidate Jonah Lyon?
Yeah, what a beautiful question to get us started in this right now. And I just want to acknowledge all the answers. I think that this is what it really comes down to is the solutions are not only within this panel, but the solutions have always been in the community. And when we look at farming, we look at food security, we look at food sovereignty. This is a time where we had the last 3 years right now, we saw community garden initiatives really coming online. More people are attuned and more people are really participating and interacting in this way. I think we need to keep doing that and continue to move forward in that, regardless of what looks like a time where, okay, we're back to normal. No, let's take the lessons that we've learned, like Colin was saying, learning from our past, and not only looking at the ʻŌpio systems and Hawaiian permaculture, all of that information, that wisdom, that genius is present here. And to bring that in and to cultivate that wisdom with those that have moved here like myself, to learn from it, those that come here to tour and to engage into what Hawaii is, the culture, and to participate and actually become part of the contributing workforce. I think the eco-cultural tourism, I like the cultural aspect to add to the eco-tourism, is a big piece, because we need to be in care and mindfulness of how to care for the land, and also how to care for the people of the land. And so, the hemp initiative, I think, is
time, if you can wrap up, please.
we can put our collective consciousness and mindfulness into how do we get this streamlined so that we can remediate these soils and be able to get to the point where we're not only sustainable, but we can export and create more economy and more jobs for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And now can we hear from candidate Kim Brown?
Thank you. I think we, for the most part, all agree on the necessity of us providing our own food. We have the farmers competing with grocery stores, and a lot of times when you go to other countries, they don't allow you to purchase food, or they don't import foods that they already provide. So I would love to see that come into our grocery stores, where it's like, hey, we only sell this local produce. You're not going to import it from the Philippines, Mexico, or what have you. I know the number one thing facing our farmers is getting access to land and fair water rates. My concern, and the question I want to ask is, the people who sit on the council and the mayor have signed off on water for Mahi Pono, which is a Canadian corporation. They're paying less than 2 cents per 1,000 gallons. Our farmers and our cattlemen are paying $1.47 for that same water. That's a concern to me, because as we're trying to solve a problem here, we are faced with the problem that is in our laps. So that needs to change immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next question. In February 2020, Maui County conducted a homeless sweep at Kanaha Beach Park. The community was very divided about this decision. If elected, would you choose to continue to perform homeless sweeps in the community? If not, how would you address the growing homeless population? For this question, could we start with Councilmember Mike Molina?
Yeah, I agree. I think the sweeps are a bit harsh. I think we need to look at setting aside negotiating for the use of property from the large landowners, where we can establish communities, a well-monitored community, much like what they have on Oahu. I believe it's in Waianae, where it's self-policing, if you will. And then we can also look at creating more shelter, whether that be through tiny homes, possibly use of shipping containers as temporary shelter. And we need to also look at providing locations where you can bring the support services nearby. So it's not just about constructing the shelter, but you need to have services nearby, because a lot of our folks who are unsheltered, they need mental health services and other types of healthcare. And we have a growing population also of are working unsheltered. That's a big concern, because these folks are doing the right thing, but for obvious reasons, they can't pay extremely high rent or own a phone. One thing I would propose is I'm a substitute teacher for Kalama School, and I was a public school teacher before I entered politics. And today, with the kids using their tablets for homework, they need charging stations. So I would propose we open up our community centers for a limited time, Monday through Friday, maybe 3 to 4 hours, where folks who are living out of their cars can drive over there, get their computers and phones charged up, and so their kids can do their homework on their tablets. So that's some of the concerns I have, and some solutions that I would look into. And of course, working with all of our various nonprofit organizations who are advocates for addressing the homeless concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, can we hear from Council Member Kelly King?
Thank you for the question. No, I do not support the sweeps. I think that's a very harsh way of dealing with a problem that we should be owning. What I do support is expanding services to each community. Right now, we only have homeless shelters in Central and West Maui. And so it's something that I've been working on for South Maui, but we're expanding. I got it into this last budget is to at least start identifying safe places for people to park overnight, because they can't, there are homeless people who have jobs, who have kids that go to school. They can't get a good night's sleep. They keep getting, the flashlight in their car by the police and move down the road. And so that's in our budget to create a pilot project, but we really need to have more safe harbors like that. And we need to make sure that the resources are in every community. Mental health services are very underfunded for this county. That needs to be expanded. And we can also, I would like to see in every community the mobile hygiene unit that I got into South Maui in my first couple of years on the council. That's a place where people can go take a shower, use the restroom, charge their phones, even do laundry, and also get the counseling that they need and the referrals to services. They can get job counseling, they can get mental health counseling, drug rehab counseling, and then referrals to those services. So yes, there's a lot more that we can do for our homeless population, and we have to start recognizing them as part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, can we hear from candidate Alana Kay?
As usual, everybody's got a lot of fabulous ideas, and I agree with everything everybody's saying. We do need more. We need to put a lot more into it, and I'd really like to. Oh, the sweeps. We started with the sweeps question. Yes, that's definitely a harsh method of dealing with the homeless crisis. But the one issue that I always like to bring up is people are finally starting to address it. I've heard Mike Molina, and I think Kelly mentioned some of it too, is we do have the working poor, and the housing crisis has really reached a crescendo. I'm living in a place in South Maui right now that is going for $2,200 a month, and 3 years ago it was $1,300 a month. So this is crisis level housing issues, and we're probably going to be, now that people aren't getting the subsidies because of COVID for the rental assistance, a lot of people still are getting that. So once that runs out, we're going to really face reality, and it's going to be a bigger problem than we think, and it needed to be solved yesterday. So we really need to put our heads together as a community and see how we're going to solve this, because definitely when people are homeless, they do need the safe parking lots, and they need the resources like where the safe parking lot might have Wi-Fi, for instance. It could have Wi-Fi, toilets, maybe showers, but at least where they can feel secure at night sleeping. I think this is just going to get a lot worse before it gets better. But I think we need to be more humane about it. We also need to be more open-minded about it. And that's what I'd like everybody to do, be a little more open-minded, that it's not just the mentally ill or substance abusers that are homeless.
Thank you. Next, can we hear from candidate Cullen Bell?
So I definitely think the homeless sweeps is a really harsh way of doing it. I think a big issue that we're having here is I know we're bringing in a whole bunch of homeless from out of state, and I definitely think that needs to be addressed big time. I know Ige signed that bill. I'm not too sure the number of the bill, but I know we're bringing in homeless from other states around the country. I definitely think we need to put a stop to that, first. And the next thing we need to do is we need to identify the homeless. We need to figure who they are, what help they need, because there's drug addicts, alcoholism, mental health issues. We definitely need to figure out how to get them better help. I know the state resources are spread thin. Maybe we can figure out something to do with our county resources here, better facilities. And we definitely need to figure out, like some people just hit a stroke of bad luck. They need a place to rest their head at night. They need a place to shower, a haircut, help getting a job, whatever it may be. We definitely need to pump some resources in. $1 billion budget, I'm sure we can help them out.
Thank you. Next, can we hear from candidate Jonah Lyon?
Yeah, thank you for this question, and love all the beautiful ideas coming in. During 2020 and throughout our lockdown and closure, we started an initiative called Hungry Homeless Heroes, and we were feeding because these are our community, this is our family, and especially what's been going on, any of us here at any point in time can be that much closer, given our housing prices, given, what making money here on Maui can look like, the expense of everything from our food to our shelter and to our water. So we have a lot of solutions that are available. One of the ones that I have been working on and envisioning is actually bringing forth this hemp initiative can be part of that also. When we use, a sustainable resource such as hemp, as well as aircrete, we can build shelters, we can build villages, we can build the actual community space. And then that also is going to require the necessity for rehabilitation, because there's, the PTSD, the mental, intellectual,
time.
and emotional trauma that is there that we need to address also. So how do we bring in the integration back into our community? Thank you.
Thank you. Now, can we hear from candidate Kim Brown?
Thank you. Again, the county in a situation where they're reacting to an issue. This is not a new problem. Homelessness exists. And again, it's a reflection of whether you have a healthy community, are the rights of the people being upheld. And when the people are able to feel safe and prosperous, then we can then help these people and their needs. We personally can go out and meet the need of someone when I'm going down the street and I see someone, instead of having to, worry about, I need to worry about, am I going to be able to sustain living where I'm at? How this problem will get worse. The workforce is either leaving or they'll become homeless. And I don't agree with the sweeps. I think, again, the sweeps are a reaction to the problem that has been a problem. Same thing, very similar to Cullen, is addressing the problem. I worked in mental health with teenagers at an inpatient treatment facility for years. And all of them had different needs. And you'd have to address like each person individually. What is their need? Do they want to be on the street? Some of them want to. Otherwise, reuniting people with their families, addressing the mental health. But again, people cannot afford to live here. So bringing in the professionals that would love to live in Hawaii and meet these needs that we have in our community, they cannot live here. So we're just chasing a problem at this point until we get affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. And now can we hear from candidate Richard Bisson?
So we all know it is not a crime to be homeless, and we should not put homeless all in the same category because they're not. Some have already mentioned people that have mental health problems, people with substance abuse, people who have both, people who are down in their luck, who just caught a bad break, maybe lost someone in their family, or they lost their job, lost their homes. And so I think when we talk about solutions, I think we should talk about options that we have available to us. For example, at the airport, the recent rental car lots that have now gone to the rental car garage, some of those spaces are open, they're available. The county should be working with the state Department of Transportation, Airports Division, and see if we can use those. They're mostly parking spaces. They have a small little administrative building there. People who are working homeless that have working vehicles should be able to come there in the evenings, not only to get a shower, wash their clothes. And when somebody gets a shower and washes their clothes, what you're really doing is restoring their dignity. And they should have the ability to go ahead and charge their electrical devices if they have any. But that's also an opportunity for caseworkers, for counselors to come in there, maybe schedule them for maybe a driver's license. Maybe they need a dental appointment. Maybe they need, of course, housing. That's obvious, transition housing. And so there's opportunities for us to engage with folks. And again, when we say the word homeless, everybody's got a different picture in their mind of who they're thinking of. And we should talk about the folks that we can help right away, try to get them, people who are working, try to get them in the homes. Housing first, obviously, is a concept that the county has adopted through HUD. That's one of the ways to do it. But again, the direct question of whether or not sweeps are good or bad, it really depends if you're the person being affected by where the group is. I think the biggest problem that came out of that was that people's property was taken, destroyed, removed, and not given back. And the folks who were asked to move were mostly upset about not having their items put aside. That's all they had. And so it obviously should have been done differently. But there's much we can do for our.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mahalo.
Thank you. Our next question will come from Kono member Kyla.
Aloha again. So my next question is, over-tourism can degrade the environment, threaten biodiversity, contribute to wear and tear on infrastructure, generate traffic, and disrupt neighborhoods. What more can be done to better manage the island's tourism sector?
Can we begin with Council Member Kelly King?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Yeah, over-tourism is a huge problem that we started hearing about in my first term on the council. And it's, it got worse, it got better during the pandemic, and it's just back to normal now. What we used to think of as normal. But what the real crux of the issue is, as we clamp down on tourism, which I did support, I brought the first moratorium to the council, and I firmly believe we have to stop building more hotels and more visitor accommodations so that we can tamp down on the numbers and get them to reasonable levels. But in order to do that, we have to diversify our economy, because we have a growing economy, we have a growing population, and they need somewhere to work in the future. The moratorium doesn't eliminate any current jobs, but it is going to eliminate future jobs. And we need to give our young people the opportunities to have careers beyond tourism. Tourism is mostly $12 an hour jobs, $10 an hour jobs, and you have to work 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 jobs to make ends meet. So we've got to start expanding to things like technology and healthcare. Agriculture is a big part of our expanding economy and diversification. And we have to start supporting the film industry, the policemen, the teachers, the areas where we have vacancies. Because a lot of the reason why our young people leave, and I know this from my own son leaving the islands, is not necessarily that they can't find a home. It's that they can't find the career jobs that they need when they graduate from college and come back here to Maui. So the diversification of the economy is extremely important. And I've been sitting on an ad hoc committee that the chair of the council put together to start addressing how we're going to expand the economy and diversify into higher wage earning jobs, so that people can work one job and be home and raise their kids.
Thank you. Next, can we hear from candidate Alana Kay?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can't tell if I'm on because I still see Kelly. Okay. So, okay. People need to face the fact that managed tourism is coming. We have hit our carrying capacity on the island, and that's a whole nother subject that we should probably talk about someday. But obviously our roads and our ecosystem can't handle it. And a lot of us down here, especially in South Maui, saw how healthy the water got when there weren't tourists here mucking it up with sunscreen, and the fish were really proliferating, and the water got really clear. It was fabulous. So we know we have to do it for a lot of reasons: to protect our ecosystem, and also because it throws off our economy. It causes the values of the properties to be so out of reach that the workforce can't afford to live here. So diversification of our economy is it's kind of like part of the managed tourism, because people, if their life is always dependent on tourism, if their business always has been, they're going to have to start planning for the future and start thinking about other things that they can do, because we can't keep up the pace we're on. And I agree with the moratorium, as much as it might scare some people. But we do need to put a moratorium in place until we decide what we are going to do. And I think that's going to take putting a lot of heads together to do the managed tourism, but also the diversification of our economy definitely starts with agriculture and getting behind agriculture and agriculture products, which is actually really happening. People are making honey and chocolate and coffee and all kinds of wonderful things here on Maui, and that's really expanding and growing. And then workforce development, getting people trained, coordinating more with the college. And the college should be offering better classes to get people educated in jobs, and that should help.
Thank you. And next, can we hear from candidate Cullen Bell?
Yeah, so we definitely need a better managed tourism here. Just driving out to Honolulu yesterday, it's insane the amount of cars that are on the road on the way out to Hana. and they're parking alongside the road, blocking roads, and we definitely need to better manage that. Figure out a plan. Definitely think a moratorium is an awesome idea. Maybe heavier tax. I know so these hotel corporations are making all this money. None of that money stays here. We got to figure out a way to implement a tax on them or some type of incentive for even workers if we do have moratoriums in place. Blackout months where, we can let our island breathe for sure. The water was crystal clear beach, empty beaches for those couple months or a few weeks that we're locked down. And, it was awesome just seeing our island be able to take a breath. But we definitely can't be relying on tourism, and we need to figure out a way to boost our economy where we can create jobs and agricultural jobs, whether it be hemp. We got so much land in the Central Valley. There's all that industrial area in Kahului where, nothing's going up. And my team and I got a few ideas on ways we can create jobs, centralized slaughterhouse and processing facility is one. And I definitely think a central area would be best for that. But yeah, we definitely see, I think a couple months ago was the most ever. It was a record number of tourists, something over 200,000 in a month, which is just insane to me. It's way worse than it was. And we definitely need to do something. And like I said, we need to put Maui County first.
Thank you. Now, can we hear from candidate Jonah Lyon?
Yeah, thank you for the question and all of these solutions and answers. I actually am just coming off of a tour and was just all the way out there, Honolulu, K&I area, and do this on a regular basis. And yeah, it's since we've opened back up, it's been way overrun. And so getting more managed tourism, sustainable tourism, really bringing it in where, this becomes a place where people who are coming here to tour are coming here to tour and to learn and to be part of what's going on here and to contribute. I think right now we have too much vacation. People coming here, it's a different mindset to come here on vacation as opposed to, knowing that they're a guest. And when coming to a home as a guest, we want to know what is the protocol, what are the rules of the home. That way I'm not stepping on anybody's feet and I know what is right and how to go about these things in a good way. Relations, so knowing about the ecosystem, what's going on, how do I, from what do you call it, sunscreen, that we're putting on the skin, to, what supplies we're using, our infrastructure being way overrun right now. So lessening down and really filtering that through a process of people that are coming here with the intention to give back to the land and to the people and in keeping the economy here on Maui. Maui is a brand in itself, and people come here specifically for that experience of Maui that only we can share. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we hear from candidate Kim Brown?
Thank you. Is my video on this time?
Yes.
Okay, great. Again, I don't want to take away from the fact that the people have been ignored. Us, the residents, have been ignored here. This doesn't become an issue when us collectively, our needs are being met. Food, shelter, and water. One of the things as a business owner is that I want to take care of my employees. When my employees are taken care of, like the island, when the island's taken care of, we can better serve others. My staff can be so hospitable to our customers because they're so well, all of their needs are taken care of. So that is number one, is like, we can go around these issues and keep saying, what about this? Again, it's a reaction to our needs not being met. And we all know what that's like. We're all standing here. Well, some of you are in a position to have made a difference and have not. And as a business owner, I don't have time to not make decisions. I don't have 6 months to a year to 4-year term to decide if I want to do something. I have to make a decision with the information I have quickly because so many people depend on me. So many families are depending on me. So with that said, my concern with tourism, or whatever you want to say, is that right now, the issue is that we are pumping 3 to 5 million gallons of sewage into our oceans, and no one has addressed it. No one has addressed it. The EPA, the hotels or what have you are paying the fines because it's easier, but it is so toxic. It's 100 times worse than the sunscreen that is supposedly interfering with our turtles, but we're surfing, we're swimming and fishing in these
Time.
oceans. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Now can we hear from candidate Richard Bisson?
Well, of course, we have a capacity that we can carry, whether it's for tourists or even our residents. And so we need to be mindful of that. The issue so much really depends on where you stand. If you're somebody whose livelihood depends on tourism, you think you obviously need them. If you're somebody whose livelihood does not, you think there's too many of them. But what we need to go back to is the original plan of the island was for tourists to remain in certain parts of the island, in the resort areas. And what we're really seeing is how they're spilling out into other parts of the community. For example, the road to Hana. We know this. I mean, whether there's 100 or 1,000, 100,000, if they were in the resort areas, people probably wouldn't pay as much attention. But the fact that they've gone into the areas that locals come into contact with them, that's when these issues become prevalent. And so even if there was a small amount of people, if it take 10 cars to block the road to Hana, that would be the worst thing to happen, even if there were only 10 people here. So again, it's not so much the number as it is the location where we're finding them spilling out to that I think is really causing the problem. So what we need to do is have educational videos on these flights of people on their way here and educate them and tell them, this is what's permissible, this is what's not, or this is what you're creating if you do this. Again, I think education is a big part of us dealing with tourists. Before we replace tourism, we should really think about what we're going to replace them with. And there's some great ideas that came up tonight. But I do think that's something that has to be managed. And I'm also in favor of the Maui Nui Destination Management Plan that brought all the stakeholders together. That plan was designed to address some of these issues. And so we should consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. And now can we hear from Councilmember Mike Molina?
Thank you. Very good suggestions that's being made by my fellow candidates. Certainly we need a carrying capacity study right now. Can't wait on it. And also we need to change the message about to tourists when you come to Hawaii. I'd like to see the concept of voluntourism, where I think one of the candidates mentioned about giving tourists something to do instead of always just going to the beach. Why not volunteer for a cause? And then in return, they can get maybe a discounted room rate or discounts from various businesses. And that way they can get ingrained in the culture as part of the educational process. So when you come to Hawaii, it's not just about coming here to just frolic and go out and maybe do damage to some of our environmentally sensitive areas. Get involved with a cause. And I think it works because I know some organizations are offering that right now. So I think we need to move in that direction. And also the whole idea of, keeping the tourists where they're supposed to be. Mr. Bisson brought back memories because we grew up in Maui at a time where our county forefathers, that was the plan. Keep them in the hotel zone areas, especially like the vacation rentals that are in the hotel zone areas. But once the door was open for short-term rentals in our neighborhoods, that was, I guess you could call it a Pandora's box. Then it just changed the whole game. And then, of course, the airlines offering cheap fares to come to Hawaii. So tourism, yes, it is. It will certainly remain a major part of our economy. But again, it's a double-edged sword because now it's impacted our quality of life. I'm in favor of charging fees to tourists who use our county beach parks. I'm certainly would be open to setting up a system where non-residents who use our parks pay a fee to help offset our cost to maintain our county parks and the like. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have a question from the audience. So sediment runoff and pollution from wastewater are the two biggest locally generated threats to the water quality and coral reefs of Maalaea Bay. What are some ideas to address this issue? Can we start with candidate Alana Kay?
Sure. So I'm not that familiar with Maalaea, but I'm sure that it's similar to the other areas. And I know a little bit about what's going on there with the water, and it's kind of complicated. I learned it from Robin Knox. She's running for South Maui County Council. She's a water quality expert. Let me address the runoff. The runoff the pollution that comes from the runoff has a lot to do with us building so much in the shoreline areas. And so that ship has kind of sailed. So when it comes to solving the problem, I think that we just need to make sure we stop building. Once again, I know all the developers and the people that make money off of all of that probably freak out over the idea, but we need to stop building in South Maui, and we need, that's Maui is the same situation. And then they have the problem with the septic systems there and the whole thing with the, you know, hooking up with the county. And so it's a major thing. It's unfortunately, when the tourist boom happened in the 70s, we built all these buildings here. Same thing with Maalaia, and then the sewage systems weren't, you know, they're not up to date, and the effluent is going out there and it's damaging the inshore waters and significant damage to the reefs. It's not a solution I can give in 1 minute. It's huge. It's real, but it is really important, and I think it's a priority that Maui and the people in Maui should be addressing.
Thank you. Now can we hear from candidate Cullen Bell?
Yeah, that's definitely a huge issue, especially when it starts running off into our ocean. So the wastewater runoff, I know the county is going around. I know all, they're trying to change out all septics. So maybe something to do with permitting. I don't know what's going on with that, why it's stalling or it's taking so long. But maybe we need to figure out what's going on in those permitting divisions, what's going on with the county, what exactly their game plan for it is. And we definitely need to sit down and bring in an expert, you know, how we're going to deal with this, how we're going to fix this. And I definitely think it's a big issue. And if you drive down through Makena, through Ailea, down to Makena, there's a whole bunch more buildings going on. They just cleared a plot right across from Makena Landing. What are they going to do about that sewage? You know, so why are we having allowing all of this development going down when we have big issues and big problems that need to be solved before that? Is my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Now can we hear from candidate Jonah Lyon?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I just saw a message right there that came through. Yeah, this is a massive issue right now, and you know, from an ecosystem vantage point, looking at it from that perspective, I think not only do we need to really decrease the development, but also now that the development, you know, like Alana was sharing, you know, that ship's already set sail. We have so much development, but the development doesn't necessarily have to be full all the time, which will cut down, even though the buildings may necessarily be there. We can have less people actually inside and occupying these buildings in a time period until these case studies are done, like Molina had shared. And the other thing to look at it from an ecosystem, I think that more planting of trees, indigenous and native plants, will also help with that. So it can incentivize us of getting more into our food sustainability and food security by putting up more plants that are going to create food that can help with the ecosystem and filtering some of that in a way and move it back into a more regenerative use of our gray water and cutting down on the developments. Thank you.
Thank you. Now can we hear from candidate Kim Brown?
Yeah, a solution would be if we look at the hotels and we were to charge a $10 utility fee, let's say averaging 200 nights rented out per year per room, and looking at all the rental or all the hotels, we could do about $47 million a year and get a low interest federal loan and pay it off in 7 years and have surplus after that. The waters here are so polluted. It is an atrocity. I don't even know how to say it. The reality is no one's talking about this. And I think people who come and visit would gladly pay $10 to know that they're contributing to the ability for us to repair our utilities. So it's not an issue, because I don't want to swim out there. I don't want to be fishing or surfing in this water. And then Rick, a concern I have is that in your last question, you had talked about sanctioning the movement of people, and that would be infringing on their civil liberties. I hope that is not something that you would take into an administration. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Now can we hear from candidate Richard Bisson?
Yes, so, the whole issue about Ma'alaya is it's the county's responsibility to the Department of Environmental Management to handle issues of pollution and to handle issues that threaten our ecosystem and our environment. And that, in that case, I wrote a piece supporting the council's resolution to use money from the Clean Water Act revolving fund to clean that bay up and to assist with the injection wells being fixed and having that system changed out. The biggest issue that's gone on for a while is everyone is pointing the finger. Is it the landowner? Is it the condominium owner? Is it the county? Is it the federal? Whose problem is it? Well, it's not the time to figure out who caused it. It's the time to fix it. And you can figure out after the fact who you send the bill to, who should be paying for that. But for the time being, the issue, it's the counties to do it, and the council came up with a way to have some funds to fix that. The mayor was disagreeing with that from whatever advice he was receiving. But in my view of it, I think if again that money's available, it's the county's responsibility to fix that.
Thank you. Now can we hear from Councilmember Mike Molina?
Okay, thank you for the question. Certainly the quick and easy answer is a treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant developed by the county or a private treatment plant. We had assumed we are going to get a successful purchase of the Ma'alaya Mauka lands, but that deal fell through, so makes it more difficult right now. And yes, about using funds from the state revolving fund. But, hope is on the horizon. At least we're moving in the right direction. For example, for the West Maui injection well matter that had lingered on for years. So finally, the council through resolution had agreed to settle the case with Earth Justice. So now at least we're going to put infrastructure in the future to address, shutting down the wastewater, the injection wells, and to, reduce the amount of water that's potentially being contaminated. Also, we could consider increasing fines for hotels or any entity that pollute our waters. I mean, it hurts in a pocketbook if you increase the fines. Not sure if we have to maybe work with the state, federal government, EPA, and to see how much authority we have there. But that could serve as a deterrent to discourage hotels and other entities from polluting our waters. Thank you.
Thank you. Now can we hear from Councilmember Kelly King?
Thank you. And I think we're talking about two different things here. One is runoff and one is wastewater. And most of the runoff, contrary to what we've been talking about with development, most of the runoff comes from bare land. And certainly a lot is coming from Ma'alaya Mauka. So one of the things we really need to do is start holding landowners accountable for having bare land that has runoff into the ocean. We've got to start looking at that more. I've been working with some folks in South Maui who are starting to plant around the wastewater treatment facility so they could use that extra water on their vetiver grass and the things that they're growing. And that more and more of that's going to happen. But I would like to talk about wastewater because I really appreciate Mr. Bisson talking about the project I've shepherded into the county for Ma'alaya, and we need more innovative technology like this. This is a modular regional wastewater treatment facility that can go up in a matter of 1 to 2 years after the land is, after the permits are applied for. And it's off-the-shelf technology. It will service smaller communities. It could be a model for the cesspool areas as well. And this is, was put into the budget this year. I had a heck of a time getting it in there, but I appreciate Mr. Molina supporting it. And we got that into the state revolving fund, and lo and behold, our current mayor doesn't support it. So we need a new mayor to get in and get that project through, because that's going to be a model for the rest of not just the rest of the county, but the rest of the state. Thank you.
Thank you. So we were scheduled to finish at 7:30, but we want to make sure you guys all get your closing statements in. So we will do one last round. So you can give a closing statement, and please include, your message to future leaders and how any of our audience members can reach out to you if they have remaining questions. So can we begin with candidate Cullen Bell?
So I'd like to thank you guys again for having me on today, having all of us candidates on tonight, and awesome questions. So like I said, my fight is for the kids. It's always been for the kids. I've had my boots on the ground for the past 3 years, advocating for them, advocating for their parents. Like I said, we need to feed ourselves. We need to be able to feed our community, not relying on shipments. We need to ensure that our people aren't moving away, that they can afford to live here, that they can buy property, that they can pass on to their children. A lot of people, who are running are sick. I'm in the struggle. I'm standing right here, weathering the storm. And I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep fighting for our island, for our people. And if anybody wants to reach out, I'm on Instagram, cbell for mayor, or you can hit me up on the website. Go check it out. See what I'm about. It's cullenbellformayor.com. And like I said, thank you for having us on, and you guys have a good night.
Thank you. Can we hear from candidate Jonah Lyon?
Yes, thank you for this time. What an honor to be here. So much beautiful solutions coming through. So I just want to acknowledge the co-opetition in this. We're cooperating and coming up with already more resilient, sustainable ways of being, and how we can bring forth more of a resource sharing kind of platform. This is really the vision of Campaign Aloha is to see us all actually working together in a unified way. And, to bring forth more of a stewardship, and how we can all really step into stewardship of this land, of each other, and bring forth, the codes and conduct guidelines that really supports and regulates and holds accountability to that stewardship. For this is the purpose, and for us to model Maui, we can be that model for all of humanity right here of living in right relations with nature. So we are nature, not a part of it, but part of it. And so I just want to give thanks to everyone here for really stepping forth in leadership, bringing forth solutions, taking on this monumental task that is ahead of us, and that we continue to cooperate and hold this as a team, that we are not in competition, but competition is about competence. And I've learned a great deal by just being in conversation, being in circle with each and every one of you, and maybe continue to counsel together as community in community, and stepping in and making Maui great as it always has been, and continue to be even greater. Aloha.
Thank you. Next, candidate Kim Brown.
Hi. As a business owner, I have to operate in efficiency. And that's one of the things that the government just lacks. They're professional politicians that waste time and money. And it is time that we take it back. For too long, we've been sold a bill of goods from the establishment politicians, the career employees. Their message of being, Ohana, seems to make them trustworthy. Yet these same politicians have allowed for the injection wells to put sewage in our oceans, which is the #1 killer of our reef. We have the same Ohana politicians signing off on corporate projects and taking business off the islands. We have the same Ohana politicians denying the request for ADOs so that people can build on their property, but streamline it for the big developers. And as mayor, the top priority is going to be to secure your rights, protect your rights in the parents and the people and the business owners, and securing the right to have affordable homes, food, water. The good old boy career politicians have failed you and me in every category. And I will secure your rights as an individual, and I will not infringe upon your rights and your liberties. As mayor, I will immediately address the injection wells that are pumping sewage into our waters. I will work with the legislators and the council to streamline the affordable housing, removing the unnecessary burdensome policy and the red tape from building homes. And as mayor, I will champion our local farmers So we're not dependent on foreign imports. As mayor, I will secure the funds to finally install the infrastructure needed for upcountry water because they've been waiting over 30 years. As mayor, I want to be for the people. I am the people's mayor, and I'm tired of the good old boys system. It's time.
Thank you. Now can we hear from candidate Richard Bisson?
I'm offering Kama'aina prosperity to all our folks that are from here, all residents here. And what that means is have a balanced, bold approach to the problems that we have. You know, as been pointed out, too often we hear the same rhetoric over and over and over again. What the people are looking for are a trusted leader. They're looking for someone with leadership, proven leadership, who can problem solve and work with all sides, not someone who holds an extreme view on one end or the other, but someone who's balanced and someone who appreciates different views and is able to work with those views, bring them together for real solutions. What I offer is intelligence, I offer integrity, I offer inclusivity. I offer the opportunity for those to come to the table, those whose voices don't feel heard, to come together and work for the solutions of our Kama'aina. I want to thank the ʻŌpio for inviting us here, and I want to thank all the candidates for taking the time and having the courage to put your name, all of us, to try and better our community. And we may have different ways of getting there, but I think we're all trying to do the same thing. And I just commend everyone for that. And again, I ask you to please trust me with your vote and to vote Richard Bisson. You can go to bissonmovement.com. Mahalo.
Thank you. Now can we hear from Council Member Mike Molina?
Well, first of all, thank you for having this forum, because what's really good, it shows to me democracy is alive and well in Maui County. 8 people running for mayor, and that's a good thing. And certainly change is good, but a lot can be said about experience. Experience can offer something good as well. For me, I've always believed, again, in being accountable, open, and responsive. Realistically, you may not solve every problem, but it's important to listen and to listen to people's concerns with empathy. I mean, put yourself in that person's place, and to make sure you provide the best customer service that you can, because after all, we're being paid by the taxpayers. We have an obligation to serve. And I think Colin mentioned the concept of education, and I think some of the other candidates. And as mayor, you can serve as an advocate or a conduit to promote education. Education is primarily the responsibility of the state, but what a mayor can do is you can go up and testify before the state legislature to advocate for the needs of our kids, because that's why we're here. We're here for the future, to provide opportunities. And we certainly have a housing crisis and everything else that goes with it. So as mayor, you need to go out there and promote your cause. It may not be your total responsibility, but the mayor is basically, you are the face of the county. So you can be a very important piece in the field of education, because research has shown communities that promote and invest in education have less problems, basically, and less reliance on social services and other things. So that's, like, again, why I'm here for. I'm sure all of you are here for. It's for the future of Maui County. And I would certainly thank all of you. And what I love about these forums, we all can learn from each other. And to me, it's about bringing all of these ideas to converge together and share our mana'o and with whoever will be the next mayor of Maui County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kelly King.
Thank you so much. I really also want to thank my fellow candidates here, because there's a lot of passion here. It's so nice to see. Oh, am I unmuted?
We can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I got a message came on that said unmute myself. But you know, it's great to hear all the passion for improvement. And I want to say that my priorities come from experience. I've been on the council 3 terms, and I've ushered in affordable housing into South Maui. The first one in the first 3 years opened up, and we've had starting at less than $600 a month, 2-bedroom apartments. That has actually helped house some of the houseless people. So I'm really proud of this council. This council has supported environmental initiatives and solutions. We've supported affordable housing projects. We've got 5 now in South Maui. We've supported a youth council that we're working on this summer to bring the youth into government at high school age. And we're doing a lot of, we're supporting agriculture to the same rate that we were supporting tourism in my first term. I was an advocate for improving the funding for agriculture, and now this council has done that. I think what's really frustrating for being on the council is you're a policy maker, and unlike what was said earlier, we didn't have the ability to control water rates. We don't have the ability to say who gets the water. That's actually a state function. And so, you know, having the experience and knowing what you can do as a council member, what you can do as an administrator is really important. And I think one of the frustrations for council members is that we can come up with some really good policies, and we have, and some really good solutions and some funding for these projects like the safe zone parking, like affordable housing, like the Ma'alaya wastewater reclamation facility. And if the administration doesn't pull the trigger on it and do it, then, you know, we've spent a lot of time not being able to work together. So my biggest frustration with the administration has been the lack of collaboration I've seen in my terms on the council. But I certainly have seen a lot of solutions being proposed and a lot of things happening in the last few years. And I want to see those increased, and I want to see those expedited. And that's why I'm running for mayor. So if you like what I've done and you've watched what the initiatives that I've brought forward, please visit kellykingformaui.com and support my candidacy. Thank you very much for having me here. And again, thank you to all my fellow candidates.
Thank you. And now, last but not least, can we hear from candidate Alana Kay?
Thank you for having this forum, and I agree. Everybody has fabulous ideas, and it would be great if we could, if this entire island could function this way, just share our ideas. I got that little notice here too to unmute myself. So I really appreciate being among this whole group of candidates. It's really fabulous, but I also feel the way Kim does about the status quo in government. It's very slow, and it's not responsive to the community. And I felt, I've been here since '98, and I feel like all the mayors we've had are pretty dictatorial, and especially the last one we had isn't responsive to the public at all. And we really need somebody who's an ambassador. Mike mentioned that, and I've mentioned that before. You're really the face of the community to the rest of the world. And I think Maui can really show the world how we can work together and unify all the different factions here. And we can put all our heads together and have a government that's responsive to the people and all the different needs, and be more humane and understanding. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's why I'm a big problem solver. I do it all the time in my life. I love solving problems, so I want to get in there and solve some of these problems. And I really care about people, and I love seeing people working together. So that's why I wanted to run.
Thank you. So now for our closing comments. Thank you to all the candidates for logging on tonight and answering these questions and being patient with me, because this is a much bigger audience than I expected. So thank you for that. Thank you to our Kono members and to our audience for logging on tonight. Next week, we have a governor's forum. This will be on July 6th and July 7th, same setup. And you can follow Kono for more information. Thank you.
Aloha.